Hello everyone, welcome back to the ConsoleTherapy.com YouTube channel. Hope you are all well. In this video we are going to repair this faulty Xbox One X, which has a faulty front USB port and bind button.
For your Xbox and PlayStation repairs, visit ConsoleTherapy.com.
So this Xbox One X was sent in to us by one of our customers. They attempted to replace the internal hard drive, which they did successfully. However, once they put the Xbox all back together again, the front USB port and the bind button has stopped working. So what we are going to do is take a look inside and see what it is. Now, I'm kind of pretty sure I already know what it is, and I will show you once we get the console open. So let's do that now. So to open up the Xbox One X, there's two screws here, and obviously the warranty label is missing from this one because, as we know, it's already been opened. So remove the two black screws, one there and one this side. And then the top case, we slide it forward towards us, a bit of a wiggle, it comes loose. Now we can lift up this side and then give the left-hand side a bit of a wiggle and the top case comes off. Now, as you can see at the front here, front right-hand side, there's a ribbon cable which comes along to this top connector here, and it's screwed down with two screws. Now, as I say, we've seen a few of these, and my guess is the connector underneath this metal plate is broken. Because that ribbon cable runs down, it goes to this bottom black plastic case of the Xbox X, and then it connects to the USB port and the bind button. So first things first, we're just going to whip off these two screws and see what we find underneath. Now I'm guessing that the actual connector is broken, and I can already tell it is because they shouldn't move like that. So take the second screw out, like so, and this shouldn't come away like that. Essentially what you should do, it should still be connected, and you have to pop it off the connector. And as you can see down here, the actual connector is broken off. So the connector is still in this USB cable, and there should be a little black square there, which is the connector socket, which that pops onto, but it's completely broken off. So what we need to do is remove the motherboard. So we'll take everything apart and then repair this connector. Now it is quite a fiddly job. So if you do ever come across this, and it's quite easy to break. This is probably one of the Xbox's most weakest points of the actual construction of the Xbox. So as I say, very easy to break. So if you do break it yourself, come along, have a look at ConsoleTherapy.com, and then we can give you a quote to repair that. We'll get under the microscope and we'll get this connector put back on the correct way. Normally some of the tracks lift off, but we'll get under the microscope and have a look. Right, so let's get this Xbox X dismantled. Right, that is all of the screws out. Now you need to take off this Wi-Fi card, which is to the left here. Once the screws are out, that just pops off like so. The power board needs to come off. Now there's a ribbon cable, which is just here, so you need to be careful of that. Now pull the power board off towards you. Don't put it too hard, and then the ribbon cable is still connected. So then just grab the ribbon cable with your fingers and then pull it away like so, and it just disconnects. And then we can take the bottom plastics off. So spin it around, make sure the USB ribbon cable doesn't get snagged. Lift off the rear and then push, give it a wiggle to the front, and off it comes like so. Now there's two screws holding this RF shield down. So we take those off, and then we can then get access to all of the components inside. So just get that one off as well. And then this RF shield comes off. It's the DVD drive at the front. At the rear, give it a bit of a wiggle and lift up. And then send it to the front, give it a bit of a wiggle. Make sure the DVD drive stays in place, and off that comes like so. Now we have access to all the components, and then we can start taking these out so we can get access to the motherboard. So DVD drive pops out the way, then we can remove the power supply. That just lifts up like so. There's a bit of tape which runs across the fan. So just pull that tape off like so and just leave the power supply out of the way. Just remove the cable out of the way. Disconnect the DVD drive, just lift up the connector on the motherboard. Be careful not to wiggle it too much. So there's two cables, one data, one power. Just give them both a little bit of a wiggle, and off they should come. Like so. Put that to one side. Hard drive. Again, give it a bit of a wiggle. Both cables, and then off they should pop like so. Hard drive to one side. There's power connector for the fan, just here. Again, give that a wiggle, pull it upwards. Off that comes, and then your fan comes off. And then you can remove the last part of the power supply, and off that comes. As you take off the RF shield, you might lose a couple of these little gaskets. That's fine, you can just pop them on after. They just slip over the gasket. And then that leaves us with the motherboard and heatsink. So the easiest thing to do is grab hold of the heatsink, give it a bit of a wiggle, and then it will pop out, like so. Move the bottom chassis out of the way. Flip the motherboard over, and then you can see this X clamp. Now you need to be careful taking off this X clamp. Easiest way to do it, get a flat blade screwdriver and find one of the gaps in between the end of the green studs. Put the flat blade screwdriver in, just start gently wiggle it up as you go around. Next one, give it a bit of a wiggle. Off it comes. Be careful not to slip because obviously the flat blade screwdriver can knock off components on the motherboard, and then off that comes like so. Then what you can do, flip the motherboard back over. Now bearing in mind the heatsink has obviously got thermal compound underneath it, just give it a gentle wiggle and off it will come like so. Now obviously you can check the thermal compound while you're here. This one's quite hard, so it needs to be replaced. And here at Console Therapy we replace all the thermal compounds as we go anyhow. So to the bit we're interested in, we need to flip the motherboard back over, and it's actually this connector here, or lack of connector, and that's the one that's been ripped off. So what we need to do is get under the microscope and then check to see how badly damaged that is. Right, so here we are underneath the microscope, and we've got the zoom in on the actual connector itself, or where the connector should be. So just to show you whereabouts we are, this is the edge of the motherboard along here. Obviously the connector is the first thing we come across. Now, as you can see, most of the pads look okay. However, this pad here has been lifted. So what we're going to have to do is create a bridge from here and run a jumper cable just underneath where the pad should have been. But first things first, let's just grab the connector which is still on the ribbon cable. So let's just move that out of the way quickly, and let's just pop this here. So this is the ribbon cable which is connected to the plastic case still. As you can see, this actual square black piece is the piece which should be on the motherboard. So what we can do is just lift off the sides here, either side, and just wiggle that off, and off that will pop. Quickly do that now. So just pop that off the ribbon cable, and as you can see, unfortunately, this connector is actually missing some of its pins. So, you know, where the attempt has been made to get this back on, there's actually a couple of pins that have come off as well. Now, not to worry, actually here at Console Therapy, we carry spares. So we've got one identical, which is a brand new one, and spare. So what we'll do, we'll pop the brand new one on. As you can see, the difference between those two is one of them has got all the pins on and the other hasn't. So obviously you can see the difference. This one is the broken one at the top here, which hasn't got some pins down here at the bottom. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 pins missing. This is the brand new one, which has got all of the pins on there. So what we're going to do, we can throw that broken one away, and we will connect on this brand new connector. Now, one of the things what we will do is just quickly prep the legs on here. So we just add a little bit of solder just to tin the legs first of all, and then we'll start the rework on the motherboard. Now, they all look okay, apart from obviously the one to the top left. And unfortunately, that one to the top left is the actual pad that carries the bind button. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of flux, which is going to go along and just clean these all up a little bit. Just making sure the solder that's on there is good. And where it's not, we'll add a little bit of solder. Okay, let's come in with some IPA and get that all cleaned up. Now, as you can probably see, what we need to be careful of is a couple of these pads have actually moved. So this one here is moved, and this one over here is kind of a little bit bent out of shape. So what you'll do, a trusty little pin, just make sure that they are in place. I think that one will be alright actually. Now for this top pad here, just here, we need to run a link. So I'm going to get a Stanley blade, be very careful doing this. We're just going to take off some of the green PCB mask to expose a little bit more copper for us. Now, if you've never done this before, it's probably best you send your console in to us and we'll do it for you, because it is very fiddly. Give it a go, by all means. If it doesn't work out for you, send it in to us. Alright, so now you can see the copper exposed. So what we want to do is just add a blob of flux there, get our jumper wire, which is incredibly thin, and just want to make sure that's thin enough. Good it is. So where we've got the copper, we're just going to quickly give it a tin of solder, like so. Come in with our jumper wire and then connect it up. Now, obviously, as the USB connector is going to be going on top of this, we need to be as flat to the motherboard as possible. And then we obviously want it clear from any of the other pads. Now, what I like to do as well is we cut our jumper wire, cut it a little bit longer than the pad required, because what you can do is once the connector's back on again, we can actually fold it over to the top, which does make life a little bit easier trying to connect that jumper wire to something which is underneath. Right, so now we are pretty much set to get our replacement connector and pop it into place. Right, so that looks good. See, first of all, we need to get some flux. So we'll add a load of flux along all the pads. And then we're just going to pop our connector down in place for now. And what you want to do is make sure that the connector is evenly placed in between the pads. Alright, so you've got the same amount of pads showing this side, the same amount of pads showing that side. So that looks good, like so. Push it down a little bit, then obviously we need to line up the legs to the pads. Now, when it comes to soldering, it's nigh on impossible to do it from the top here. So what we like to do is just spin the motherboard around, going from one angle at a time. So we've spun it all the way around, and there you can see our connector. Now, what I'm going to do is just get something to prop it up a little bit on, so I can actually see down the motherboard. Just very gently rest our pliers on top of the connector without trying to move it too much, and then we can come in with our soldering iron and just start gently tacking the pads. Okay, so that's that side tacked for now. So all we're literally doing is looking just to tack the connector on. We're not looking to solder it permanently yet, because we'll come back and tidy all that up later. Flip the motherboard round. And then exactly the same for the other side. Rest your tweezers on the top. Right, now we just need to tidy the whole area up with some isopropyl. Hopefully not forgetting to actually clean the inside of the connector where the flux went earlier as well. If you get some solder blobs like this on the actual copper plate, don't worry so much. Let's just ground anyhow. Perfect. So all that's left to do now is get it all connected and tested. Right, let's get this thermal paste replaced and then get the motherboard back in the chassis and give it a good test. Okay, now we need to put the plastic base on. So from the front, line up the pegs on the DVD, give it a bit of a push, and it just literally falls over the back like so. Spin it round. I've got a ribbon cable here for a power board. And then this is the big test. Make sure we can clip this back on. So just gently line it up. You should feel it just pop into place just like so. You can let go. Pop in the 2 screws. Don't over tighten these screws. Just keep them relatively tight. Then get our power board. Pop the ribbon cable in. Sometimes it's easy to do with a pair of pliers, or sometimes you can just do it with your fingers. Pops, feed the excess back down into the console, pop on the front connector, put in the 3 gold screws, right, so let's pop the lid of the console on. So this is the front of the console, this is the left hand side. I like to start from this side and just kind of lever the top lid on like so. You kind of feel it fall into place, and then what you want to do is just gently bend out the right hand side of the lid very gently. Pop over the side here, like so, give it a wiggle and then push it back, and then let's put in the final couple of screws. Okay, now let's give it a test. Okay, so that's the Xbox powered up. Let's hit the bind button and see what happens. Perfect. There you go. Bind button working again. And what we'll do, we'll just quickly pop in a USB hard drive and just make sure the USB port is working as well. Just pop that in like so. So the hard drive is spinning up, and we should pop up with media device attached. Perfect, there you go, all fixed. So there you go, one Xbox X fixed. So bind button is now working and USB port is now working. So just a quick video really to show you how to replace the connector on the motherboard. As I say, it's quite tricky to do, and as you saw, it's quite tricky to do, but it is possible. You know, we've replaced quite a few here now at Console Therapy. As I say, it's a weak spot on the design of the Xbox X, so it is quite a common problem, especially, you know, when you're trying to take the console apart yourselves. You know, just a tip, if you do take your console apart, you know, just make sure that you carefully take off that silver plate that's on the motherboard after you remove the 2 screws. Anyhow, so if you have any questions, please pop them in the comments below. We are always here to help. Any advice you want on your Xboxes, again, pop them in the comments below and we will answer them for you. If you would like your console repaired, please pop along to consoletherapy.com and we will give you a quote to repair your console. So all that leaves me to do is to say thanks very much for watching the video. Really appreciate you viewing. Please give us a thumbs up, or yes, if you like the video, subscribe. We're posting more and more videos each day. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next video. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.